It's a crisp fall day in Detroit's North End, and welcome to your Daily Detroit, recorded on Thursday, October 24th. I'm Jer Stays.
And I'm Cheyenne Nocerini. On today's show, another historic building in Detroit could be on the demolition list. The governor wants to expand the number of people who qualify for overtime pay. A cat cafe in Ferndale is expanding. And there's a Vice piece making the rounds about Warren and its mayor. Jared talks to the journalist Trevor Bach about what he found.
So let's get to it.
Recently, we told you about the impending demolition of the Saturday night building for 12 parking spaces in downtown Detroit. As TV's pitchman Billy Mays would say, but wait, there's more. According to historicdetroit.org, and we're just getting this as we're recording the show, the theater portion of the historic United Artists building at 150 Bagley could be demolished as part of a redevelopment plan by the same developer behind the removal of the Saturday night, Emmett Moten. It's part of a $56 million project that would turn the 18-story building into 148 apartments to be completed in 2021. The city is being asked for about $2.4 million in tax breaks, according to a separate Crain's report. Moten, a longtime operator in the city, said that rules around a federally backed loan and private banks require the theater's demolition. Although the theater is in disrepair due to decades of neglect by the owners, the Illich family, activists say it could still be saved. It was left open when District Detroit plans were announced what would happen to the theater. And now we know what they were thinking.
So, Shy, I'll add in my 2 cents here that until recently, I kind of thought the whole historic building demolition spree in Detroit was mostly over. I think in part because of a better real estate market, in part because developers like Dan Gilbert's Bedrock showed that you don't have to take stuff down. Look at all the stuff on Woodward. Look at the Chrysler House. It just goes on and on and on. And in part because, frankly, there's not many historic buildings and structures left in greater downtown.
Right? Because you know why?
It's 40% parking lots.
But maybe this won't be a landscaped, fenced, lit parking lot.
Maybe it'll just be landscaped, or maybe it'll just be lit. Maybe we'll just get a few of them. But I guess not. I mean, this is disappointing. For me, there's not much of historic Detroit that's truly left. And I kind of think that I know it's financially hard to do, but maybe we can preserve what we can. Maybe there needs to be more funds or something for legacy in this town. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer said today that she'd like to expand who qualifies for overtime in the state of Michigan. There's a federally set threshold for who qualifies for that in the United States. Make below it, you legally have to get paid time and a half for overtime over 40 hours. Make above it, well, it's up to what you negotiate. Democrats generally want the level to be set higher so that more people get mandated overtime pay. Republicans want the floor lower, saying the free market should be the driver. Under today's rules, salaried workers that earn less than about $23,600 a year have a right to time and a half pay when they work more than 40 hours a week. The Obama administration tried to double that on their own to north of $51,000 a year, but a federal judge blocked the move. Now, the Trump administration is doing their own program, and yes, it's a raise, but that level is only up to about $35,500 a year. The governor is now looking to change Michigan's stance and set our own overtime floor, likely at a level closer to Obama's, but she does not outline a specific amount. Governor Gretchen Whitmer's office says there will be a feedback period of 6 to 12 months as the Labor Department researches. They say they'll get input from both workers and businesses before making a recommendation, so stay tuned.
This next story is national, but has a lot of followers here in Metro Detroit. The restaurant chain Popeyes will bring back their chicken sandwich in early November. It was so overwhelmingly popular that it was basically the most talked about thing in this city and many others when it became available and then quickly ran out. Popeyes will be hiring 2 new employees at every store to handle the expected increase in demand. Many people are looking for a politically guilt-free alternative to the popular Chick-fil-A options, and it seems that Popeyes is stepping up for the job.
One of the last Kmarts in Michigan is closing. This is in Warren in Macomb County at 10 Mile and Ryan. The Macomb Daily adds on that it'll be closed by the end of this year. Kmart, with roots in the Kresge 5 and dime stores back in the day, was a homegrown retail success story. A quarter century ago, they had about 2,500 stores, but they were not able to adapt with changing times. The final 2 Kmart stores left in our state are in Waterford Township and Marshall.
School bus drivers, monitors, and mechanics working for Trinity Transportation in Detroit have voted in favor of joining the Teamsters, specifically Local 243. The union vote passed with more than 90% support. You might have seen Trinity Transportation buses when driving around town. They provide privatized school busing and other transportation services and are part of National Express, a global company based in the United Kingdom.
A cat cafe in Ferndale, aptly named the Cat Fe, is expanding. The Ferndale Cat Shelter, the 501c3 nonprofit that operates the Cat Fe Lounge, has moved into 817 Livernois, the 1,000 square foot space adjacent to the current cafe. They'll open the expanded space about 3 blocks north of 8 Mile to the public this November. The nonprofit says the new space will serve as the entryway for the Cat Cafe and provides a separate space for food, beverages, retail, and all those other fine feline things. And it'll allow for more room next door for the Cat Fe's rotating cast of adoptable felines. The new space will also serve as the office headquarters for the Ferndale Cat Shelter. The Cat Fe Lounge also has plans to start requiring donations for admission. Up until now, they had been allowing entry on a suggested donation basis. Single admission tickets will be $10, while monthly group passes for up to 4 people are available for $50. There are various events that happen there too, like yoga and parties, and of course you could rent this thing out. I'll tell you, if anyone wants to have a Daily Detroit meetup at the Cat Fe, hit me up at dailydetroit@gmail.com. It might be the perfect get-together, though, Shy, I'm not sure you can go.
I'll just have to take my Claritin. Detroit area businessman Roger Penske is getting the highest honor the government bestows on a civilian. President Donald Trump is awarding the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Roger Penske. The logistics magnate was crucial in bringing the Super Bowl to Detroit, as well as the Detroit Chevrolet Quicken. I can't remember all of the companies in the title Grand Prix. He also runs a successful motorsports team.
Joining me on the line is Trevor Bach. He is a freelance journalist who's written for a variety of publications. Today we're talking to him about a piece that caught my eye, especially as it deals with Metro Detroit and the national conversation. It's called "This Mayor Allegedly Said Vile Racist Things on Tape. Voters Still Stand By Him," and it's in Vice, and we'll link to it in the show notes. Trevor, welcome to Daily Detroit.
Thank you for having me on.
So what caught your eye about Warren, which is a suburb of, I believe it's more than 130,000 people in the southern part of Macomb County? What caught your eye about Warren and Mayor Jim Fouts?
You know, Warren is a pretty interesting place in that obviously it's a Detroit suburb. It's a big suburb, big city in a way, third largest in Michigan. Politically, it has a long history of being really nationally relevant. Going back to the 80s, Warren had supported John F. Kennedy and Lyndon Johnson, or, I should say Macomb County had in big numbers, sort of this traditionally Democratic stronghold, and then yet flips, to support Reagan. And so you have this county really outside Detroit that has this great national relevance as far as, and a lot of with deciding elections. And then, of course, in 2016, Macomb was really, instrumental in electing Donald Trump. It's 130,000 people in Warren, but it's the largest city in Macomb County, which is really, critical on a national level. And then as far as Fouts, so he's been in office a long time. What stuck out, I guess, was the parallels with the scandals that kept emerging from Fouts, and of course the scandals that are emerging from Donald Trump, or the kinds of nasty, vile things that the president says regularly, seem to be mirrored pretty well with what Fouts was, allegedly saying in these recorded tapes. So there's this instant kind of parallel there, but then also really the idea of, Fouts as a mayor, he's a public figure, and these horrible allegations keep coming out. But what's the consequence? As far as what's actually happening to him. I mean, he has been able to basically deny everything and maintain his office and won the primary in June. So it's, what does that really say if he can sort of just hang on in that way?
I'm curious what you think makes, from your on the ground work, what do you think makes Fouts so bulletproof?
Yeah, I think there are a couple things going on there. One, he's been there a long time. He was a councilman before he was mayor, and he's really good with people. The comments, of course, are awful and vile, but there's another side to him as a public servant, and I think in a lot of ways it's fair to say he's been a good public servant and an effective mayor in a different way. Maybe more importantly, as to his popularity, he connects with people. Everything people, I was hearing is that Fouts is really, he's hands-on, and he's kind of this old school politician in the sense that he shakes hands with a lot of people and connects with people and has this visibility and accessibility, around town that I think people really appreciate. He was popular to begin with, right? Before these tapes emerged. He's been popular for a long time. He's kind of an institution within Warren. But then you look at what else, contributes to his, sort of being bulletproof. There's sort of a more abstract question of what do people really believe, or why don't they believe, these allegations or these tapes that to most honest observer, you look at it and it's like, how do you conclude that it's anyone other than him? There's very little doubt.
One thing I would note here is that it seems to be that there's a correlation where people kind of want to believe certain things. I mean, you kind of draw a through line between Fouts and Trump. I see a few of them. One of them being is that neither of them are establishment party people. I mean, Macomb County is a red Democrat area. They're not loyal Democrats. And in a lot of ways, they're not loyal Republicans. Fouts is the same way. He constantly paints himself as an independent. But another thing about that is that both figures have supporters who, they just do not want to believe, at least they don't seem to publicly want to espouse that they believe what they've heard, or there's an immediate dismissal of, and this is something we've seen a lot on our Facebook page, of, yes, maybe he did that, but my services are great, so I don't care. And those are actual quotes that I've heard.
Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, he's, Macomb has this independence. It's not really a conservative place or a liberal place. It's politically independent and politically malleable. And Fouts it's a personal connection, that he's established with people. It's not a party connection. I think that, I don't think anybody in Warren really cares that he's that he leans more Democratic. It's more about what is he doing for them? How is the city running, in their lives? And then I think, and the question of the comments, right? So it's a couple things going on. Maybe one is that people don't care in a sense or don't care enough, but I think a lot of it too is that people, it's sort of this other idea of, well, I'm not sure that he actually said that, this kind of this doubt around it. So people believing or deciding to believe that they just don't buy it in a sense. So I think if you walked around Warren and read, Fouts, the alleged comments from Fouts, disparaging disabled people and black people and women, I don't think you're going to find anybody who's going to say, oh yeah, I agree with that. That's good. Right. But it's people sort of coming to the conclusion that, well, no, that's bad, but I don't think, I just don't believe it. I don't trust the media. I don't trust sort of the conclusions of, or public officials even, who have called on him to resign. And to me, there's this deeper sense of just a distrust, facts and of institutions that I think also obviously has parallels there with Trump's support, right? It doesn't matter, for the 43% or whatever of people who are loyal to Trump, it really doesn't matter what he does, what new scandal emerges out of Washington.
So looking ahead to the national scale, because Warren in a lot of ways is representative of much of the United States. It's suburban, it's majority, although Warren's demographics are changing, it's majority white, How do you see that kind of impacting the national conversation?
As I mentioned, in 2016, Macomb County was basically as critical as anywhere in the U.S. in deciding the election. In 2020, I guess it remains to be seen a little bit. I think it'll be very important. Michigan, but also along with Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, kind of the blue wall, as it were, will again be very hot territory. But I think it's maybe a little early to really tell exactly where sort of the swing states will be. It might, I think the electoral map might be a little bit different in 2020, but certainly Macomb and then Warren, very indicative of the way a lot of America is feeling as far as the national election.
Well, Trevor, thank you for taking a few minutes to chat with us. I encourage people to read his piece in Vice on Vice.com. This mayor allegedly said vile racist things on tape. Voters still stand by him. We'll have a link in the show notes. Thank you, Trevor.
Thank you.
And with that, we are done for today.
Thanks for listening, and to our members for supporting Your Daily Detroit. Become one of those cool people at patreon.com/Daily Detroit. And thank you.
I'm Cheyenne Doserini.
And I'm Jer Stays. Take care of each other, and we'll see you around Detroit. Sipping coffee, making up words.
Cafefe.
Cafefe. Cafefe. Catfefe. It's coffee at the cafe. Catfefe.
It's coffee for cats.